What's up, guys? Dr. Andrew Fix back here for another episode on the code. Really appreciate your guys' time hopping on, listening to this podcast. Can't thank you guys enough because the outpouring of reviews and text messages and whatnot that I get and that our team gets at Physio Room from clients, from friends, from family, people who are listening to this show, it just really makes me happy that people are finding some value in this. And again, I really appreciate your time being here. But I think this episode is going to be kind of funny, or at least funny for me to record. I feel like I said this the last time that I did a solo episode. Things have been a little hectic lately, a lot of stuff going on. It's the summertime. Aaron and I went on a trip. And I've been releasing a lot of these interview episodes, which are awesome because they provide so much value. I learn a lot from the people that I'm talking to, but it's also nice to hop on here and just do some quicker solo ones. But it's been a little while since I recorded one of these. And I'm going to knock one or two out before we head off to the office this morning. And so the idea for this episode sort of came from Aaron and I, Aaron, my wife. You guys probably know that if you've listened to this show or know me. And we were watching the movie Bridesmaids this weekend. And Aaron asks me, apparently it's on Netflix right now. Aaron asks me, hey, have you ever seen the movie Bridesmaids? And I said, no, but I was just talking about that because it came up in our team meeting. We were going to use like the song from Wilson Phillips to put to something on social media. So anyways, since I said no, Aaron's jaw about dropped and she said, well, we're going to watch it. Like, that's what we're going to do this weekend. And so we did. So it was Saturday and, we didn't watch the movie 100% straight through. We paused it, ran to the grocery store and whatnot. But we watched the movie Bridesmaids. And first of all, if you've not seen it, this movie came out in 2011. Yes, because the majority of the actors, actresses in the movie are female. It's probably a little bit more geared towards the female viewer, but the movie's hilarious. So funny. And I didn't even know that it came out all the way back in 2011. That's been out for over 10 years. But I thought it was very funny. And halfway through it, or maybe 2/3 of the way through it, I got the idea to do this episode because there are some real life scenarios and some real life like quotes and situations in there that almost everybody can relate to, right? And one in particular, and I'm just going to like lay this out in case you have not seen the movie, just throw out some names here. Not to like ruin the movie for you, anything like that. But the movie centers around this character named Annie Walker. She's played by Kristen Wiig. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then some of the other main characters. There's a woman in the movie named Megan. She's played by Melissa McCarthy. And Megan actually is the sister of Annie's best friend's fiance, who she's going to get married to, and hence the name Bridesmaids. There's also a police officer or a state patrol guy in Wisconsin, which I thought was so cool that this movie was based kind of in the Milwaukee and Chicago areas. Nathan Rhodes, and then Helen Harris III, who sort of is like the the person that Annie is butting heads with during this movie, and who she's sort of fighting with and disagreeing with. So anyways, Annie has just been down on her luck. Her relationships aren't going well. Her best friend gets engaged and she's trying her best to plan the bridal shower, like plan the bachelorette party, do all these things, and everything keeps going bad. And once you know it, Helen, the other kind of quote unquote really good friend of the new fiance, is just coming to the rescue. She's got a little bit more money. She's doing everything like really well. She's just basically trying to one up Annie in every situation. And, Annie's had a lot of hard things go on in the past several years. She owned a bakery, it closed, all this stuff. So anyways, Annie's just blaming Helen for everything. And everything that goes wrong is Helen's fault. And, she's coming up with like excuses or reasons why this didn't work out and that didn't work out, and just give me another chance and I'll do better the next time, type of thing. So then eventually Annie's just like so down on her luck and so kind of upset that she's just hanging out in her house. She lost her job, all this stuff. She's just sitting there and essentially sulking, right? Is probably a good word for it. And Megan comes over to her house and is essentially trying to get her to snap out of it. And this was my favorite scene of the whole movie, I think. She's trying to get her to snap out of it. And Annie's just complaining and complaining and whining, like, I have no friends, my life stinks, all this stuff. And Megan is like, well, when are you going to stand up and actually like do something about it? Like, when are you going to take responsibility for your life? And as Annie's just blaming and blaming and blaming other people for why things aren't working out for her, Megan says this awesome quote. And I think this is true of almost all situations. Now, there are things that happen to us, right? And I'm not saying that everything that you do in your life is your fault. But what is almost always, if not always, within your control is how you respond to a situation and how what your attitude is like, what your reaction is like. Like, you ultimately have control over that. And although things happen to us, we can oftentimes make a really positive scenario out of what seems like a bad situation. So Megan says to Annie, as she's like smacking her, trying to get her to fight back, trying to kind of get her to, snap out of this terrible mood she's in. She says, Annie, I don't associate with people who blame the world for their problems. You are your problem. And then she pauses for a second. And she also says, you are also your solution. And then, dramatic pause, and just kind of gets her to realize like, wow, I do have the ability to kind of change this scenario around. And once she sort of puts that mindset in place, as the movie goes on, the story ends up sort of turning around and things aren't so bad after all. And she starts sort of taking control of her life, right? And, right around this part of the movie, when Annie's having all this stuff go wrong for her, she ends up having to move, gets essentially kicked out of the house that she was living in with some roommates, or the apartment or whatever it was. And she ends up moving back in with her mom. And, she tells her mom, like, I thought I was at rock bottom before, but I wasn't. Like, this is the bottom now. And her mom says to her, hitting the bottom is a good thing because there's nowhere to go but up. And, there's probably somebody listening to this episode, or somebody that if it's not you, who is probably going through a really hard situation. And, if you've ever been in that situation, that things can turn around. I've been in scenarios that were worse than than my wife and I have right now. I'm sure we'll be in a scenario in the future that's worse. The same thing's true about Physio Room. Not everything is just roses and rainbows and sunshine all the time. Like, there are some days that are hard. There are some seasons of life that are hard, some quarters, some years, some whatever. And things have ups and downs. And, the highs don't mean as much if you haven't experienced those lows. And when you have experienced the lows, that if I just keep doing the things that are going to get me to where I want to be, like, things can turn around. But what you can't do is you can't just blame other people for your problems or for your situation and expect that to change. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I've been upset or blamed other people for things. But where does that get you? It doesn't really get you anywhere. And the police officer in the story, Nathan Rhodes, he kind of had similar quotes that he was saying to Annie during the movie. And I just thought it was so relatable. And if you have not done so, I encourage you to go watch this movie. One, it's you're probably paying for Netflix and it's on there, so go ahead and watch it. But two, it's funny. It's it was a good time to watch it. I had not seen it before, and I think there are a lot of things that a lot of people can relate to in there. Many people have been in weddings before, and it's not always the easiest scenario. There's a lot of busyness going on. So again, what I want to leave you with is essentially like, if you're going through a good time or a bad time, what I want you to think about is that like you ultimately are in control of your destiny, right? And how things turn out have a lot more to do with you and how you react and respond to the situations that arise, how you spend your time and how you use your time. It has much more to do with that than it does what other people do to you or what other people, cause for you in your blaming of them, because blaming isn't going to ultimately get you to change the scenario. It's just going to make you upset at the end of the day. So we're going to leave you with that. Again, I really appreciate you guys tuning in to listen to this episode. And I don't think talking about the movie Bridesmaids and, and all these quotes and stuff would be complete without playing Hold On by Wilson Phillips. So we're going to play a little bit of that song for you guys. We'll catch you next time on the Code.